letting you in. Take a look at you and start to lose my balance. What am I falling into? This feels like something new. I've seen a lot of views, but they were nothing like this. The way you do what you do, I think you're something brand new.
Hi, I'm very glad to see you here today. Thank you for joining the last session of the day. This is about innovation. For those of you who cannot hear me, there are headsets just behind you. So just put that on and let's enjoy today's session. What we have today. So, innovation comes in multiple shapes and forms. From breakthrough technologies to state-of-the-art business models, multiple avenues of action emerge. A lot of us have a question in mind. Can Europe become a front runner of the energy transition with industries that are competitive, that are innovative, that keep the pace with the global evolution? So, without further ado, I would like to give the floor to McGranaghan, fellow at EPRI, prestigious research institute. Mark, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Wow, what a great day. Innovation is the key to the energy transition. I think we heard that this morning. We're here throughout the session, so it's great to be able to have a session actually talking about innovation. We need to dramatically increase the rate that we're applying renewables. We need to electrify everything, and somehow we need to make all that work together. I saw this morning that now we're on the 4x number for the rate that the demand is going to increase on the grid. As we electrify things and we look at data centers requirements for artificial intelligence, we need to make tremendous investments in the grid. We heard this morning, a couple of years ago, Electric Study told us that we needed to increase the European investment in distribution grids to 40 billion a year. But this morning we heard that now it's 67 billion a year. So it keeps increasing. And that's a huge challenge, to invest in the grid, invest in generation, invest in customer technologies to meet all of these energy transition goals. Another thing that we heard this morning is that if we take advantage of intelligence, flexibility at the edge of the grid, we can reduce that 67 billion down to 55 billion. That's where innovation comes in. We also heard this morning, I think one of the things that is very important is looking at being aware of the technologies that are coming out. Matter of fact, I think I'll just highlight 3 areas that I think are very important as we figure out how to innovate better as an industry. We're not generally that good at innovation as an industry. We tend to be very conservative. Safety and security takes precedence, it always has, and that's appropriate. So somehow we need to innovate and move faster while still maintaining safety and security, and that's our challenge. And to do that, I think, as we said this morning, the concept of a tech radar, really understanding what technologies are available and making sure we're all aware of those technologies, so that if we can apply them and put the systems in place to use those technologies, we can go ahead and do that. And that's where the second priority comes in, collaboration. EPRI is all about collaboration. That's our business model, is working together to move the whole industry forward. And I think in innovation, it's particularly important to work on that technology radar, understanding the technologies, and then sharing in the demonstrations and the deployments of those technologies and the lessons learned. And the third area, I think, is just mindset. Thinking as innovative organizations, change management, embracing change management, embracing the innovations and making part of our grid. That's where we have quite a bit of challenge in that mindset to make that happen. We have a group that Annalise helps run called the European Energy Innovation Interest Group, where we share some of those challenges as we try to change the mindset. So I'd encourage everyone to look into joining that. But I think if we can kind of tackle those three areas as an industry, the technologies are out there. They're being developed. We need to use them to push those technologies forward, to build this, scale those technologies as necessary. So I think this session is very important, and I really appreciate Augustin and Eurelectric and Annalise putting together this great session to kind of emphasize the importance of innovation. Of course, we can't provide a comprehensive view of what innovative technologies are. That's a longer term issue. But what we can do in this session is we chose just 3 categories of challenges that we have that I think are very important. Renewable deployment, looking at a great example of PV deployment that is a great example for going forward. Electrification technologies and looking at industrial heat pumps, one of the most important categories for electrification. And finally, looking at the overall picture of, what's our third example? Oh, it's long duration energy storage. And one of the most important examples out there. We have so many energy storage examples, but long duration energy storage is one of our tremendous challenges. Patty Hayes referenced that in the market session this afternoon, and it's one that we really get our arms around. So I'm really excited about the discussion, and let's get on with it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark. You left us with a lot of food for thought. Thank you for your introduction. So now we will continue this session, but please allow me first to introduce you the Innovation Board. The 3 people sitting next to me here today are Anne Bolle, Vice President of EU Affairs at Stadtwerke, Marius Bompoulos, Director of the Business Hub at PPC, and Tomás Loureiro, Head of Innovation Intel at EDP. They are members of the Working Group Industrial Competitiveness and Innovation at Eurelectric, and they have selected, together with the other members of the working group, from a pool of 500 projects, 3 that we will be presenting to you today. So, without further ado, I would call on stage the first project promoters, Wien Energie, Johannes Imminger and Stefanie Rupprecht.
So yeah, let me just introduce our company for quite a bit. It's just to give you a couple of numbers. We're Austria's leading energy provider. We provide power, gas, heating and cooling to around 2 million people in Austria. And we have our goal of being climate neutral by 2040 already. So to reach this, our investment program for the next 5 years foresees 2.6 billion euros for climate protection measures. And to give you a last one, we're also Austria's largest producer of solar power.
So let's zoom into our product portfolio so that you can better understand the wider context in which the project that we would like to present you today is playing out, and what is our motivation to do that project of the large-scale heat pump. You see here a lot of a very large product portfolio. We do not go into all the details now, maybe just focus on the first 3. So of course electrical power, as Stefanie also has already said, is an extremely important point for us, but also the question, how can we phase out natural gas? By 2040, to become climate neutral, we want to replace 600,000 individual boilers in households in Vienna. And the key play is, of course, what do we do with the heating question? And that's where our large-scale heat pump comes in. Here are some figures in addition to give you the wider context. I just focus on the first one. It's by 2029 we want to invest 800 million only in sustainable heating projects and circular economy, and that's in these 800 million where we zoom in now into the project. So the large-scale heat pump in Simmering, that's a suburb of Vienna, is directly connected to the central sewage treatment plant that we have in the suburb of Vienna. And it's called EBS Wien, that's the colleagues from the sewage treatment plant, and we connected to it now at the beginning of the year put it into operation, our large-scale heat pump, and it is the largest, most powerful and the most environmental friendly heat pump in Central Europe. Why? It can provide now already heat to 56,000 Viennese households, and by 2027, when we will double the capacity, it will be then 112,000 households. To give you also the megawatts, it will be at the end 110 megawatts that it can provide. Now it's 3 heat pumps, it will be 6 heat pumps at the end that will do this job.
So how does this heat pump work, or what does make it so special? So with this large-scale heat pump, Wien Energie utilizes the valuable thermal energy in the sewage water from the EBS sewage water treatment plant, which previously remained unused. So normally the sewage water, after purification, it flows directly back into the Danube Canal, but now it takes a diversion into our heat pump system. And there we use the residual heat from the treated wastewater from the sewage treatment plant. And with heat extractors, we extract around 6 degrees Celsius from the purified water. At this moment, we have 3 large-scale heat pumps that are in operation, and by 2027, we want to be in full expansion with 6 large-scale heat pumps. So due to our state-of-the-art technology and also further technical optimizations to our system, we can use this, utilize this low temperature and generate heat at more than 90 degrees Celsius. And this heat then flows in the form of hot water into our district heating network and then directly into the flats of thousands of Viennese households, which are then supplied by sustainable district heating. So we always say that with this heat pump, Wien Energie wrote a piece of heat transition history for Vienna, because in just one shot we increased the renewable share of our district heating by 7%, and when fully expanded, we will double this output and generate up to 14% of renewable district heating requirements only at this site alone. So it's locally and it's sustainable. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very interesting and excellent to see what Vienna is doing in that perspective. My question goes a little bit. I think one of the problems with the newest technologies that we have is to have them on money, right? So to both be economically viable for the ones who are developing, and on the other side, to make it a good alternative for the customers, because we all know that for the energy transition to happen, there's a transactional element, which means that customers really need to also want to electrify their consumption so that this goes forward. So my question is, like, when you compare what you're doing right now with the heat pump with the natural gas, like, what's the comparison in terms of cost? And then how much does it affect what customers end up paying at the end of the day?
Yeah, it's an excellent question. Thank you very much. We heard it already at other panels earlier today that this is one of the key questions for any project, so also for our project, of course, and of course for the whole transition. As I mentioned, we have this objective of phasing out gas, any type of gas, not only natural gas, from individual households by 2040. So of course it means a dramatic change, but we have the objective of doing that in a way that takes on board all of them until 2040. It's not so much time left, and of course we need several components. We need the right regulatory framework, we need subsidies, but what is the advantage of the project that we showed you compared to other individual solutions is that with our existing district heating system, we can decarbonize and offer to much more households the option of district heating than before. So the task is first of all on our company side to expand the district heating system and then to find such decarbonized sources. So to give you concrete numbers, in the first expansion phase, so the 3 heat pumps that we have now, we invested 70 million at this site, and it will be we expect that it will be the same amount of money until 2027 to build the other 3 heat pumps until we can supply then 112,000 households. So it is first of all a cost on the side of the company, and of course we expect that it will be in the long run decrease the prices, will increase also the security of supply. It will decrease our dependency on the fluctuations on the market for natural gas that we have to buy now for these customers. So it is, I think, long run, it gives more stability, more stable prices, so customers will benefit.
And what we also see there is like to decarbonize heating in Vienna, we will need every single source that we can actually find. So every single euro that we invest now gives us more stability of prices in the long run for us in our planning, but also for our consumers. And it's very important for us to share that we invest every euro into the best consumer price, into independency from Russian natural gas, because we're still very dependent on that, and also in renewable energies, of course.
Hello, thank you very much for your presentation. Building on Thomas's question, you mentioned about the comparison between the heat pump and the natural gas or any means of gas that you try to substitute. However, I would like to ask, what is the comparison between the technology you are mentioning now compared to 5 years ago, where you used to have the concept of heat pump and it existed back then? Why it's commercially viable now instead of 5 or maybe 10 years ago?
I'm of the opinion that to decarbonize heating and to decarbonize the heating system in Vienna, we will need every single source. So, of course, a lot of planning has gone into this project. We have had a planning phase of a couple of years and then a construction phase of 2 years. And now we just completed the construction last year, and now we're starting to go into the commissioning phase and the planning phase of the full expansion. So, to give you a concrete answer, I feel like we can't compare the now and then solution because, of course, the world has changed and we still don't know. Of course, also our planning has changed and our planning security has changed. So we're of the opinion that we need to focus on what we are able to do now. So we need to bring forward concrete projects now. That's why we're also dealing it in that way now, that we are going with the first expansion of 3 heat pumps now. And then in 5 years, when we have our systems adapted and when we can still afford and make the necessary technical operational systems adapted to that, that we can go on 6 heat pumps and even magnitude that as a project itself.
Thank you for a very interesting presentation. Sounds like a win-win project. A question challenging that maybe a bit is, are there any environmental impacts of that technology and how would you mitigate those? And then connected to that, how replicable is the technology for other partners or other actors?
Yeah, so as I said, just to give you a precise idea, at the moment our district heating runs mostly on combined heat and power plants, which are around roughly 50% run on gas. Then another third is waste incineration, and then the rest comes from industrial waste heat, biomass, and geothermal energy. But as Johannes has already pointed out, we want to be carbon neutral and we want to have a carbon neutral district heating network by 2040. So apart from using wastewater as we do here and using waste heat as we do here, we're also looking into geothermal energy as our second pillar for decarbonizing district heating. And already with this project at this expansion, we're saving multiple tons of CO2 emissions, and in full expansion we will be saving around 300,000 tons of CO2 by 2027. But of course negative environmental impacts are taken into account, and we're taking it very seriously and trying to mitigate them due to a professional operational control as much as possible. But what I can also tell you about, or what's so special about this site as well, is that we're also already using 100% local and regional energy to generate the district heating, because the electricity to generate the heat pumps comes from nearby Freudenau power plant, which is a run-by-river power plant. So the sewage treatment plant itself is already an eco-power plant thanks to the use of sewage gas, hydropower and photovoltaics. And now, to ensure the efficiency and also the optimized operation of the heat pump, we have built a direct line between this power plant and the heat pump system.
Yeah. And to answer the second part of your question on the replicability, that's an extremely good one because we also hope, of course, to be an example throughout the EU. This is the largest project like that in Central Europe, but you could replicate it anywhere where you have a sewage plant close to a city center and a district heating system, or if you plan one. So it is at the end, so there's also no impact on the quality of the treatment of the water, which was sometimes a fear, I think. But with this technology, you take it out at the very end, so it even decreases then the temperatures if the river is too hot, for example. So it's really only beneficial, like you said, a win-win.
Yeah, we've been lucky geographically as well.
Thank you very much, Johannes. Thank you very much, Stephanie.
Yep.
Thank you.
So we heard that the electrification, large-scale electrification is possible. Now we are entering the realm of renewables. And I would like to call on stage Dimitrios Papadopoulos from Cero, Senior Project Manager at Delphini Blue.
All right, that's lovely. That's lovely. So, hello everyone. It's been a great pleasure to be among friends, colleagues, and partners of the energy sector. Just a few words about Zero Generation and who we are. Zero Generation. Our motto is we are powering a net zero future. We are a leading European solar energy and storage developer. And our single-minded vision is to ensure that this and every generation has access to clean, reliable, cost-effective, renewable energy. We identify, we develop, we build, and we operate utility-scale solar energy and battery storage projects all around the European Union, all around the European countries. And by doing so, we are in position to help and support the local communities of the Europe and beyond that. Currently, we do have 25 gigawatts of solar portfolio with further generation capability added each year. We are transforming land, usually wasted land, to an established, so far, several near-term operating solar farms with 3 currently under operation. Currently, as we speak, we are in the commissioning stage of the first private PPA here in Greece, in the northern part of Greece, and 100 megawatt solar project called Delphini Blue. Delphini Blue because blue is the sea of Greece, and Delphini is out of the Greek word, dolphin, if you translate it, which is the most sweet mammal in the ocean. So, zero by numbers, because everybody loves numbers, I guess. Currently, 25 gigawatts of portfolio, operating in 80 European countries, 370 projects under development, 8 projects reaching financial close, 3 projects under construction, 4 projects in operation, 1, as I said, under commissioning as we speak, 353 megawatts generation capacity in operation, 130 plus in-house technical experts making all this possible. And all of this has been achieved in just 3 years of operation. So, by realizing the potential in solar development and in renewables, we drive efficiency and we maximize returns across the valuable chain. We identify the sites, the projects, we develop in-house, we build, and we operate. Now, how this happened, which is the timeline of Zero. Zero was not built by itself. Zero belongs to the Green Investment Group of Macquarie. We are 100% owned by Macquarie Group, but we are independent in terms of the leadership and the management. We started as the Green Investment Group and the first renewable projects back in 2019, and we made our first, let's say, pumper step at the beginning of 2021. So we established as a standalone business in 2021, and as we speak, we have some key milestone projects like the UK first transmission connected PV project directly to the national grid. We have the first private PPA in Greece, which happens to be the PM of the project, so I'm really glad about it. And just to say a few words about our partners, because you cannot do all these things by yourself, you need partners. In terms of the development, we do have an in-house development capability. In terms of the leading technologies, we are focused on the utility, big field solar projects, on the battery storage, and on the onshore wind. We have powerful partnerships. Among some of them are on the audience today, like EDF, like GLHD, like Nara Solar, like Enjo Energy. We do have a scale advantage. We do have an ambitious plan, and we have an extensive pipeline. And of course, we do have the ability to have accelerated decision making. Why I'm saying that? Because usually big firms and big organizations and competitors are too big, and even if they have a very good idea, the bureaucracy within the company does not allow them to walk and to act very fast. This is not the case with us. Just a quick map where we are and what we do. We are in UK, in France, in Spain, in Italy, in Netherlands, in Germany, in Greece, and in Poland. We do have subsidiaries and successful projects all over Europe. The operational and construction portfolio, we do have large screen, Castrum in Italy, Bolotana B in Italy as well, Pontinia, 7 megawatts, and in Greece, the first private PPA with lenders, Piraeus Bank and Eurobank, and the PPA signed with Axpo. Now, very quickly about Delfini Blue project. It's the first private PPA, as I mentioned, and it's located on a mountain, a forgotten mountain in the boundaries between Bulgaria, a place where no one was using it, a place where it was just for leftovers and it was used for garbage facilities by the local community without any license, of course, and we took it and we saved it. It is located, as I said, next to Bulgaria. It's 21 kilometers from the nearest village, which is Protochani, 36 kilometers from Drama, and 196 kilometers from Thessaloniki Airport. Some main characteristics: it's a 100 megawatt power plant. We do have our own HV substation and our own overhead line, which is a 150 kV HV substation, 29 overhead line towers, 20 inverters and MV stations, 4 delivery MV stations. We do have almost 56,000 structural piles, 28 kilometers of internal terraces, 106 kilometers of PV structure. Just imagine, 106 kilometers is the distance from Kavala Airport to Panorama Village. 153,000 of bifacial PV modules, the latest technology. An area of 186 K of square meters, which is around 120 football fields, and over an area of 1.5 million square meters. This is the shape of Delphine Blue currently. There was no road, there was nothing. We built, and we got permit, of course, to get an access, both for the south part and from the northern part. 85 megawatts on the northern part, 15 megawatts on the southern part, a snake road with 5 circuits, and a slope of 65 degrees of inclination. Just imagine we brought machinery from quarries, and this is the innovating part of this project, and this is the main message that I would like to pass, is that no longer there are easy projects. We are a very mature industry. Renewables are here 25 years. So we do need to be flexible, we do need to be innovative, and we do need to face all the challenges, like the extreme weather conditions, like the limitations, and the high slopes and the rocky soils. So no longer think the renewable sector and the PV sector like a flat green field where you install PV modules. We need to improvise and adapt to the current conditions. And it's doable, and from the economical and the technical side. We have over 150 hours, 1,000 hours of working manpower. 65 people have been HSE inducted, 200 toolbox stocks, no LTIs, no injuries, nothing. We managed to keep an eye on the last climate change and be adaptable to the fire risks. And we have been next to the local community, both in social and the economic side. So this was very, very briefly what we've done in Delphine Blue. Thank you so much, and I'm more than happy to receive your questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That sounds like, again, like a win-win story and a success story, and we need a lot more of those. I don't think you mentioned subsidies, and you said it's economically viable.
Correct.
And you do that. So the other projects which you have in your pipeline, are they as viable, or how do you plan to finance that kind of portfolio in the future? You mentioned PPAs also as one.
Correct.
Is that a
Correct.
crucial thing?
Correct. Thank you so much for this valuable question. Of course, there is no project without a financial profit for all the stakeholders. And let's be honest, so far the industry in Europe was based on subsidies. So we had the European Union, which had the fee tariff for the ROC schemes, and we had the local governments, which were using part of these schemes to fuel the developers. But no longer this thing is on the table. It was good at the beginning, let's be honest, because it was the fueling to initiate the renewable market. But currently, due to the economic and the political challenges, and due to the recession, most of the countries have faced, especially in the northern part of Europe, due to the war with Ukraine, but also the recession 10 years ago. The southern countries faced due to the economical, let's say, irregularities that the governments had chosen. There is only one way to go ahead. And this is to have private PPAs with other counterparties, like the ones I mentioned, which are other companies who would like to receive the energy in a form of a trading entity and have a big portfolio of energy and be in position on a daily basis to trade their energy portfolio from renewables. So this is how we are focusing. This is our main approach. We are focusing mainly to private PPAs. And we're really, really glad that we did the first private PPA here in Greece, and I hope that others will follow our example.
Hello, thank you very much for your presentation as well. In the previous question, we actually concentrated more about the financial viability. What I would like to ask now is the challenges you are facing on a legal element. You mentioned that what you're doing, your project's transforming actually wasted land, parts of land at least. So what are the biggest challenges you are facing towards this transformation from that one? And do you face the same challenges all across your projects in Europe? Or there are differences, south part, central part, or north part of Europe?
Yeah. Okay. Indeed, this is a very vital question. And let's be honest, there are cultural gaps within Europe. And these cultural gaps, somehow they need to be bridged. I believe, not because I come from the renewable sector, that renewable energy and the renewable market has the ability to be the bridge between these two cultural gaps, between the Northern Europe and the Southern Europe. And the reason is very simple, because currently, as we see Europe and the needs of the Northern European countries, they are on a big demand to have quick, clean, cheap energy which comes from renewables. And on the other hand, the southern countries of Europe, you see the weather, we see where we are, they do have the ability to produce very quickly cheap energy. But the challenge is that we do have the, let's say, the political and the strategic approach and tools to do that. But here is where the technical part is missing. And what is missing are the major infrastructures. Because one thing is to have the political beliefs and the political agenda, which Europe do have a political agenda. What we are facing is a result of European Union and the correct political decisions. But on the other hand, the challenge stands on the fact that in order to pass this energy that is going to be moved from the southern part to the northern part, you need heavy infrastructure. You need heavy, high voltage overhead lines. You need a network that is capable to transfer the energy that is produced. So we cannot just sit and be producers and have on the other end people, households, governments, communities who have the demand and do need energy and not have the intermediate chain, which is the overhead, high overhead line for transmission. So the European Union, together with all the partners, need to push towards this direction. We need a centralized route that will connect all the energy from the south to the north. Otherwise, I'm sorry to say that developers and investors and lenders and other stakeholders will be in the unpleasant position to see their business models to fade out because of political decisions from the national grid operators that will at some point not be in position to absorb all the energy that is produced. It's so simple. But let's be optimistic and let's have this as the main message of today's, let's say, meeting and conference, at least from my end. Let's focus on having the intermediate chain that is missing. An overhead line between south to the north.
Just a quick question. I would really ask you to be really brief on because we are short on time. Just but you mentioned the football field, just a number to the audience, which is always interesting, is this year in solar we would need to install around 513 gigawatts worldwide, which is basically the same as saying 1 million football fields. So I think the challenge is pretty big. But my question is, following up Anne's question, it's very specific, which is, in a context that we live with low energy prices and high interest rates, I mean, one of the things that you mentioned and stood out, which is the private PPAs, which is amazing. It's a way of financing also the construction. How do you mitigate the risk associated with these high interest rates versus low prices? Because when you're signing a PPA, you're committing with a steady price or at some point something at a longer term, which in the current conditions have a lot of uncertainty. How are you mitigating that risk in this project or in other ones that you are evaluating?
Correct. You're absolutely right. And this is one of the main challenges that we're facing when we are building and we are planning our business model. The first thing that we're doing is we identify areas and pieces of land which are cheap. The second thing is we take advantage of the low capex that is needed, and this is mainly to the low price of the PV modules. We live on an era where the PV modules are on their lowest price in terms of their birth so far. These are the two main parts that we are taking under consideration. And the third thing that we are doing is that we are truly dedicated to focus and deliver a net zero future for the next generations. We take our risks, and the risks, it is something that in case something goes wrong, we will live with that and we will face the consequences. Thank you so much. Thanks so much.
You're welcome. Beautiful end of sequences. We believe that we can foster the energy transition. So after we discovered the possibility of financing renewable deployment through PPAs, we don't need subsidies. We are now going to move to another aspect that is completely necessary to the deployment of renewables, and that is the storage aspect. So I would like to invite on stage Michael Pinzel from CellCube.
Thank you, Ioana. May I hand this to you? So my microphone is on. I hope you can all hear me. Dear audience, I'd like to welcome you to my presentation about innovative vanadium flow projects. My name is, as Ioana said, Michael Pinzel. I'm Business Development and Sales Manager at CellCube. Now I have to check for my presentation. Indeed. So CellCube is the product of a company called Enerox. We are located in Vienna, Austria. During our lifetime, which is now 24 years, we did deploy already more than 140 projects all over the planet. This sums up to 14 megawatt, 75 megawatt hours. We have experience since more than 20 years. We do R&D more than 20 years. I myself am with the company since 13 years. We have serial products, which I will show you projects on my next slides. We have more than 10 patents and approximately 50 employees, where most of them are located in Vienna, and a few of them are in the US, as currently we are building up a second production line in the US for the American market. Now, the key characteristics about our technology. Well, first of all, we are the global market leader with the number of projects that we did realize. Then a real key characteristic is that our energy storage technology is a safe technology. The energy gets stored in a liquid called vanadium electrolyte, It consists of more than 50% water, the rest is sulfuric acid and vanadium salts. And so it is non-flammable, you cannot burn it. This is said in theory. We also did tests in reality. So we did this UL9540A test, thermal runaway, what lithium batteries have issues with, no issue for us at all. So this is one really key factor. A second key aspect is that our energy storage systems are built for an operational life of 30 years. And you can cycle them for more than 20,000 cycles. So if you have applications where you have a long project lifetime and you need many cycles, this is the technology. Also, you can do power overrating, so you can charge our batteries with up to double of the rated power and discharge with 1.5 of the rated power. This is very beneficial in some applications. Our sweet spot for applications is if you need a discharge duration starting from 4 hours till 24 hours. So this so-called long duration energy storage. This is, next to the technical advantages, it also has financial advantages. The product is really reliable. Well, we did install them since more than 15 years in the field now. There is one system which was now checked out by a German university group because it's one of the longest running vanadium systems on the planet. And they wrote a report about it. It is now published in the Journal of Energy Storage. And for example, you can find there that even after the operation until now, the energy capacity is still above 99% of the capacity on day one. You find this, of course, in theoretical literature. It should be like this. But here we prove it in a real-world system, operated by a third-party operator, reported by a third-party university group. So this is a real strong side of us. Our products are bankable, easy to scale, and especially sustainable and reusable. So they are really a part of the circular economy, because this electrolyte liquid, where the energy is stored in, does not degrade. As we said before, it keeps its energy capacity and it also keeps its state. So even after the lifetime, you can simply pump it out from a system, take away the old containers, put their new containers, put in the old liquid, and you have a new battery. So you don't even have to recycle it, you reuse it. This is a big advantage of this system. And as this electrolyte liquid is approximately 50% of the capital cost of the system, we also offer to buy the liquid back after the end of the lifetime because it still has a lot of worth. Apart from that, we do have a local assembly, meaning that the electrolyte is the most heavy of our product. So on every continent, we have suppliers that can deliver on site for our projects. It is very repair friendly. We do not use any rare earths. So circular economy is a big advantage. Now, until now I showed you just like PowerPoint slides. Let's go to the innovative real-world projects. On the top left, you see one project which is located close to Chicago, in Bolingbrook. The customer is Eurelectric, an electrical company that suffered from blackouts because the grid in Chicago is quite weak, surprisingly for me, actually. And they are producing their electrical components. So whenever they had a blackout, they had to throw out all the products that were in the production line because they did not fit anymore to their quality standards. So they decided to put up their own microgrid, meaning they put up a lot of photovoltaic on all the factory building. Okay, they bought batteries from us, 2 megawatt, 8 megawatt hours. And they have a flywheel from the transition from grid connected to island grid. The project was finished in November 2022, so we handed over to the customer. So it's in operation now since 1.5 years. And next to the technical interesting aspects, this is also nice because it's really our best business case, because the customer has 4 different incomes, revenue streams. I mean, of course, he does energy shifting. So when he has a PV surplus during summer, during midday, he puts it in the battery, uses it in the evening, easy. He also does peak shaving, so he does not have to take the power peaks from the grid, but from the battery, so he avoids grid fees. The third thing is, of course, this uninterruptible power supply. So he never makes the batteries completely empty, so that in case there is a blackout, he still has enough energy to shut down his production line in a controlled way. And with this, he avoids to throw out his products. And now the fourth one is really important also for this audience, because, I mean, in the winter in Chicago, there is not that much sun. So all the electricity that is produced during the day gets directly used in the factory. So actually he doesn't need the battery in the winter. This is why he offered it to the grid operator in Chicago. And the grid operator now uses it for frequency regulation. It's the so-called PGM market in Chicago. And so with these 4 revenue streams, he really had a return of invest of a bit more than 5 years, which is quite good. And luckily, he was now even rewarded by the state of Illinois as a lighthouse project for renewable energy, got another 2-point-something million dollar. And with this, I think he has 1-point-something, less than 2 years of return of invest. So this is really our best business case, and we are very proud and promote it. I have to look on the timeline, okay. Maybe, well, I mentioned the one on the top right, the EVN system, which is in operation since more than 12 years, and the report you can find in the internet, or I can send it to you. It's in the Journal of Power Sources. Another project, top left, you see in South Africa, where it's completely in the outback of South Africa, so there is no public grid. Until now, they were running on diesel generators, and they decided to put up a lot of photovoltaic because they have enough space there, and put our batteries there, 1 megawatt and 4 megawatt hours. So these are all realized projects, and now our biggest future project is for the Department of Defense of the USA. They bought from us batteries 1 megawatt, 10 megawatt hours for a military base in California to have a more resilience in their energy supply. And so for us, for a still European-based company, this is really a big success and makes us very proud that we sell to the US Department of Defense. So I hope I could catch your interest about vanadium flow technology and its business cases, and I would be available for further discussions. Thank you very much. Ευχαριστώ πολύ.
Thank you very much. Working for a hydropower producer, this sounds a lot like a hydropower reservoir, but it's not. But my question then is, I mean, this again sounds like something which should be at much larger scale than it seems to be for the time being. What are the main thresholds to make this broader used?
Point one is we have really to make it more well known by the public, because for most people it's still well flow batteries exist, but we really have to show it with real world projects with a long time experience that the customers really trust in it. Another point where we work on right now is, I mean, the capex are relatively high, but right now as this electrolyte, which is roughly 50% of the capex, keeps it worth over lifetime, we now offer to buy it back, or the customer can rent it or lend it. And with renting, you have immediately half of the price of the battery and pay it over O&M costs. So it took a while to find a real big-scale industrial partner for this, but we have this now and can offer it for big projects for customers too. Apart from that, we are in communication with Statkraft too, so maybe we will find something.
Hello, thank you very much. Building on Anna's question, for everyone that wants to buy a battery, a bigger concern is the reduction in performance. So you mentioned in your presentation that your product effectively can last up to 30 years and can charge 20,000 cycles plus with that one. So what is the reduction in performance from year 1 to year 30? Because this is a big constraint to what actually Anna said for someone. If there is a significant drop, someone might be disheartened in order to invest.
No, this is quite easy. So the electrolyte liquid, where the energy is stored in, keeps its capacity over the whole lifetime and even afterwards. The same. This is chemically, also from the chemical evaluation effect, but also we can prove it now over at least 14 years. What changes is the inner resistance of the stacks. The stacks are responsible for the power of the system. The electrolyte is responsible for the capacity of the system. The more liquid I put in, the more capacity I have. So in one container are 126 stacks. We all monitor them online. Over lifetime, single stacks might increase in inner resistance. This would follow up in a loss of capacity, but we can exchange every single stack if necessary during an annual service. And so the cost is minimum. One stack is, let's say, €1,000 to a €1,000,000 system. And so with this, we can really keep round-trip efficiency, capacity over lifetime.
Okay, and maybe to finalize and also taking advantage that we are here where we are today and in the forum that we are today. So one of the problems that we have been seeing in storage, or at least is slowing down the massive adoption of storage, has to do, one, with the financial viability of the business cases for storage, and partially because the lack, or at least the uncertainty about market frameworks associated with the storage generically. What would be the role, what should be the role of Eurelectric and the European Union for us to have the right type of frameworks so that storage can be massively adopted and there is less resistance from the developers in putting that on the ground?
Well, I can answer easily. Like most of our projects currently are in the United States, because with their Inflation Reduction Act, they really put a lot of money in the infrastructure. This helps us too. This is why we open up another production line in the States. So funding helps. Another point, in Austria, they talk a lot about energy communities, and I think like many people own one storage system, and many different houses with photovoltaics would feed in and then take it out again, and currently still feeding in energy and taking out energy get taxed. So it gets taxed 2 times. So I think for water power plants, this is not the case. It's only taxed 1 time. So in this case, energy regulation would help if they treat batteries like pumped hydro, for example. Just as 2 small examples.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much for your time, for your presentation. We are now reaching the end of today's session. Many thanks to our innovation board, to our speakers. Many thanks to EPRI, our sponsor for today's session. I hope you enjoyed all the discussions we've had here today. Thank you very much.